You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So I'm PJ Morgan, also known as Penelope, and I'm a voiceover artist and an actor, and I'm here on the call with Tamara Linse, and we're talking about the audiobook of How to Be a Man that just came out.
Yes, yes, and I'm Tamara Lindsay. I'm so happy to be here. I was the author, and PJ Penelope was the narrator, and it's just been great. It's been such an exciting process. I'm so excited to talk about it. um, can I ask the first question?
Please do.
I was curious about the name Penelope. Where did you
Uh-huh.
get it, and do you like it?
I do like it. I think my parents were mostly inspired by the Odyssey, the character in the
Oh, excellent! That's great.
cool name, and most of my life I've actually gone by Penny. Most people who know me
Oh,
call me
yeah.
Penny. And then the pseudonym, so to speak, of PJ came about because a lot of my favorite authors are British authors, and there's a tradition
Oh,
of using the first two initials of your name, like J.K. Rowling and P.G. Woodhouse, and some of my favorite authors. So I kind of adapted that habit, and it kind of bled over into doing voiceover work.
oh
So it
yeah.
stuck.
That is great, and that kind of goes in with sort of the gender issues that we were talking about, but we can get more to that later. So,
Ah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I suspect we have a lot of the same favorite authors as when we were kids. So, um, so
quite likely.
what's that?
Said quite likely.
So, would you like to ask me a question?
Yeah. So how long did it take you to write all the short stories in the book? Was it kind of like one burst of creativity where you wrote all of them in a short period of time, or is it a collection of stories that you've been working on over a long period of time?
These are a long period of time. So I've been writing my whole life, but I didn't sort of start taking myself seriously as a writer until I was about going on 30. And then when I started seriously writing, I almost immediately jumped into a novel. And I
Mm,
started, and when I got like one or two chapters in, I was like, crap, I have no idea what I'm doing. so, so I took a step back and I started writing short stories. And just even as I was writing novels, I kept writing short stories, and I learned so much from short stories. They just force you to learn, you know, to be crystalline in your prose and so many things. And so the first story was probably written in 1999, and the last story I was revising right up until it was published. I mean, there was one I didn't know whether it was going to stick together, and I totally revised everything at the last minute. That was the one. Um, 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 oh God, my brain goes blank at the moment. Uh, the one about the girl on the dude ranch, because I didn't know how I was going to end it. So long time, 20 years. So
I know that well. I've been an aspiring writer for a long time. I know how it goes.
how do you think that you're writing? Because you've been doing National Novel Writing Month. You've been writing. You've written at least 6 novels, right? Yay! Um, how do you think that influence your voice work, and your voice work influences your novel writing?
I think having written at least a fair number of first drafts, it definitely gives me an appreciation for finished work, and um, and also kind of more of an emotional connection because you have more of a feeling of what goes into writing, especially very emotionally charged scenes. And I would say voiceover work has always kind of subconsciously been a part of my writing because I tend to hear the story in my head almost while I'm writing it. And sorry,
I
my
bet.
giving me kisses here.
That's great. Hi. I bet you're very good at dialogue.
Yeah, yeah, I love doing dialogue, especially when you have two characters who are very distinct. And a big challenge in doing narration is having to come up with different voices for characters, especially when, you only have one voice. And people listening know that you're the same person saying all the lines, but at the same time, there's so many wonderful things you can do with your voice to distinguish. one character from the other and give each character a completely different personality and different vocal tics and ways of speaking. And that's a really fun challenge. I love working with books that have a diverse number of characters who are talking back and forth.
Oh yeah, and you can really tell that. I could right away when you were doing dialogue. When I first heard your audition and your later stuff, it just because you must obviously develop the character in your mind because they all are so obviously. You can hear it in your voice that you're inhabiting the character. That's great.
Enjoy that part a lot. The most direct analog to straight up acting, developing a character and having a voice for them and really bringing them to life.
Yeah. What do you like voice acting, acting, or writing better?
Oh, that's a tough question. I have a love for all of them, and sometimes it's so hard to separate them out. There's a freedom with voice acting that I really like because you're alone in your booth and you can take more risks because there's no one there, and there's a freedom to play because you can decide what you share with other people. And you have that with writing too, because you get to censor what goes out there, and what you share with other people. So both of those processes are very creatively freeing for me. But I also love the spontaneity of especially theater, live theater, where there's an audience. Sometimes it may be only your director and stage manager. Sometimes it may be a full house of people watching who've paid for tickets. But you have to take more risks. And sometimes that can really challenge you to do things that maybe you wouldn't do when you're just sitting at home by yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, one of the reasons I'm a writer is because I'm not in front of the audience. I mean, I think a lot of people write because they want that distance. I think they're a little shy or whatever. But yet again, my daughter loves to act, and she's only 8, but she loves being in front of people, and she feeds off that. So it's great you can bridge that divide.
Yeah, they have an enormous value for me.
Good.
So if I had to pick just one, I would have a really tough time deciding that I would stick with. But I really enjoy being able to do all three frequently. It's definitely a gift.
Yay! So I love creative work.
You too. That's actually something I wanted to ask you. What's your creative process like? Do you write every day for a certain amount of time? Do you just write when you're inspired?
I wish I was one of those people who was like a schedule person. My husband is a schedule person, and it's wonderful. He's just like but I am not a schedule person. I write best when I write every day. Like if I want to get a novel done, I will write an hour or two every day, and I can just, um, you know, uh, uh, get it done like that. But that's I tend to go in fits and starts. So I'll just throw myself into something and get a bunch of stuff done, and then I'll sort of collapse and not work on hardly anything for a while. I guess the answer is I wish I was a person who wrote every day, every day, every day. But how about you? How about you?
I think I'm very similar to you, and that I have fantasy of being the writer who gets up in the morning and by 9 o'clock I've had my tea and my breakfast and I'm sitting down and I'm in the right mindset and I work till noon and I get great things done and then I run off and do the rest of my day and have that as a very strict daily routine. But creatively, it's very spontaneous.
Right, and I don't understand people who can be like so regimented like that because I'm going where my passion's taken me.
I'm a lot like that. I'm very, I trust my gut instinct a lot. And when I'm really feeling motivated, I run with it. And when I'm not, I honor that.
Right,
But
right.
I definitely, I admire and am somewhat jealous of people who are very regimented.
Yeah. But could never be that way yourself or myself. uh,
We have to value where we're coming from because we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and everybody's process is different, and I think there's value and validity in all of it.
yeah, and if you're working against your own best way of doing work, you won't get anything done. You have to realize how you work.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So do you write short stories in addition to novels?
I wish I did, and I've often heard people say what you said, that mastering the short story is invaluable in writing novels and in learning to do it well. There's just something about the short story format that I guess I'm intimidated by it. Like I think because it's short and you have to kind of finish it
Yeah.
and you get lost in a world and have that excuse of, I built this giant world with all these details. It's going to take me forever to to get to it. But short stories are there's less to hide from in them, I guess. And I think it's been on my plans for a long time to do more short stories and to try and wrap my head around that, because in a way they are kind of like little microcosms, and so it's less overwhelming to be working with all these details and overlapping plots and threads that have to kind of weave together in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to do more short stories, but
Yeah,
I've
great.
been afraid of them, I guess.
I think we have also, like we have our natural working processes, we also have our sort of natural length, and that's something that we kind of have to embrace, although it's nice to challenge ourselves sometimes. Um, but I bet short story writers who just do short story writers say exactly the same thing about novels. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine a novel. There's way too much room.
Right.
Well, maybe we should talk about a little bit just about how the audiobook came to be came to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that would.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I had written the book and it came out in paperback, and then I was at a conference and I saw that ACX was there, and I had thought, played with the idea of maybe an audiobook would be cool. That would be, and I was really scared about who I might find to narrate it and everything. And so finally I just did it and put my profile up and put the book up, and then you came along.
Yeah, I was actually really excited to find the book because I had just decided to try ACX as another venue for my voiceover work, and a lot of the titles that I was running across were, kind of traditional romance novels and some independently published sci-fi stuff. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting, but I didn't really feel motivated by anything that I was looking at. And I honestly don't remember how I stumbled across your book, if I was just randomly searching or if I typed in a search term, but it immediately grabbed my attention because, like I mentioned in the interview we did via email, I really like gender issues and thinking
I
about
do.
how they affect us in society and our lives. And so it was very interesting that the cover picture was a girl's face and it said how to be a man, and I was thinking, oh, well, that could be interesting. And I read the synopsis, and immediately I was very interested. And I've read a number of short stories by Annie Prue and other authors who kind of write in a similar genre. So on a whim, I just said, you know what have I got to lose? I'll record an audition. I'll send it in. And obviously I was very overjoyed to find that I had a recording contract in my inbox. And
Oh my gosh. And it was so great because I was afraid that, in Wyoming we're sort of very understated and laconic and pulled back. And so I was afraid I would get somebody who was over the top with sort of a radio voice where they were talking very, I don't know. And so when I heard your audition, it was perfect because it was exactly what I was imagining. So
yeah, that's great.
that's
I
great.
really glad it worked out for both of
Yeah.
us because I really enjoyed reading the stories. They were great.
Good, good. Well, that's excellent. And uh, it's just so great to work with you. You're just so professional and so wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
And thank you. I mean, you're so warm-hearted and so
Thank you.
that really makes the process nice because
Okay.
you can be very professional and very cold. And I've worked with some authors who are just like, one author I have goes through her publisher, so I don't talk to her directly,
Oh
and
my
there's
gosh.
disconnect, so you don't feel as much like you're you're working on it collaboratively. And I like it feeling like a collaborative project because obviously you're bringing somebody else's story to life and they need to be involved in that process. So it's great to work with someone who's really connected with their own words and their own work and really is invested in the final project.
It must be weird that in that you've read their words and you know them from the inside out, and then you actually kind of meet them, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, you're the same but not.
Yeah, it is interesting because what we write says so much about who we are, but not everything, obviously, because we sometimes just part of ourselves into stories, sometimes all of ourselves into stories.
I'm really curious to see some of your writing someday.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to share it with you, and thank you for offering to look at it because that always
Yes,
motivates me to actually finish something and put it out there. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, should I stop recording and we'll sign off here and then maybe we'll chat a little bit afterwards?
that sounds like a good
So,
plan.
okay, so everybody, this is a great book narrated by an absolutely fabulous narrator. You should go out and buy it. So, thank you.
Thank you.